Well, the whole area where we worked, the whole province, was called a free fire zone.
I see.
So a free fire zone in the province meant that there were no friendly troops around. There were no friendly civilians around. So, if it moved, shoot it. Well, obviously, I mean, once you get there and you see all these mountain yards, you're not just going to start randomly shooting. At least we certainly didn't. But the clearing the fire base was called fields of fire.
Fields of fire.
And so you wanted to have a nice field of fire, which meant, cutting all the underbrush, down to grass level, so there's no place for the enemy to hide, and no place, and you could easily shoot them. No place, for them to hide. So if they ever came, in fact, Snuffy was very well protected. Now, one of the things that happened, and this would have been, now, I think it was New Year's. I can't remember if it was Christmas or New Year's, but based on the 68 Tet Offensive, we knew that, they're going to attack. If they're going to attack, they're going to attack on holidays, even if there's a truce. So I was only there for one Christmas and one New Year's, fortunately, one Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving, I was out in the jungle, so I don't know what happened. But Christmas and New Year's, they brought us into the fire base because they were expecting, if it ever was going to be attacked. It was a very secure fire base. I mean, in addition to all this artillery, we had quad 50 machine guns. That's 450 caliber machine guns on the back of a truck. I mean, if that raked over that would just eliminate, hundreds and hundreds of people at one time. So it was very secure, along with 50 calibers all around somewhere else. But if it was going to be attacked, it was going to be attacked on the holiday. Yeah. That's what they figured. So on either Christmas or New Year's, and the more I think about it, it was New Year's. We brought the recon platoon was brought in to Snuffy, and the line companies were brought in and placed in blocking positions around Snuffy. So it's like the whole battalion was ready for any kind of attack. And like I said, so we were on the fire base, so we had it made. It's kind of like someone's going to attack us. They got to control those line companies first, and that's probably not going to happen. So we were sitting there on top of the bunkers because it was, night, and it was cool. And you look at the stars, which were beautiful because there's no ground cover. The sky in Vietnam that I saw was the most fantastic thing in the world. But so we're sitting there on these bunkers, and 10 miles away, they hit another fire base. And the reason we knew that was the U.S. has tracers, and our tracers were red. And a tracer just means they paint every fifth round of a M60 machine gun or 50 with a chemical. And so when it fires, the friction in the air burns off that chemical. It turns red. It turns green, or it turns red. Ours turned red. The VC and the MVA had green. I don't know why. But we could sit here and watch this other fire base light up. And so we couldn't hear anything, but we could see the green and the red, shooting in the distance. So it's kind of like, and then you could see, they must have had some kind of helicopters or anything, because you could see light. So it's kind of funny. I mean, we're sitting there And we're watching this.
Yeah.
And it's like, what can we do to help? And the answer is, well, nothing. You know, it's the middle of the night. We're just watching this light show, you know, and it's like, you know, we're sitting there drinking a beer while these guys are fighting for their lives. And it's like, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it turned, it turned into a horrible night because somebody decided that we were going to do a night combat assault to help this fire base. But that didn't mean recon, that meant one of the line companies. And so that meant they would have to pull a line company out of the jungle onto the landing strip, and then you would have to bring helicopters from Song Bay, as if they could find Snuffy, into Snuffy, and then load them up and send them to this other fire base. Well, they pulled a line company out, but that never happened. The line company ended up coming up to the airstrip, and but the helicopters never showed up. So the next morning, I mean, we knew some guys in the line company, just because you run into them sometimes on the fire base or something. They're coming in, we're going out or something. So we go out, you know, we walk out to the landing strip, and you know, what's going on? What are you guys doing here? Because we don't know any of this. I mean, you know, so they're the ones that told us what had happened. But what had also happened, and they were very upset because at night they've already set out all their booby traps, right?
Wow.
And they got to pull in those booby traps in the dark before they can move. And so there was this new guy, and he had never, and this is related to me by my friends in the line company the next morning, who he had set up the booby trap because they'd showed him how to set up a booby trap. You know, you're new, you got to learn this stuff. Here's how to do it. Well, that meant he had to, in the middle of the night, go out and pull in his booby trap. Well, I mean, he was scared to death. He was crying. He says, I can't do it, you know. And so one of the other guys said, okay, I'll help you. Now, you got a booby trap. It's a claymore mine here. It's got a piece of piano wire strung over here and here. So you hit that piano wire, pulls off, pulls up. So these two guys got shoulder to shoulder on their hands and knees and started walking down the trail. And the way the booby trap is set up is you know, the claymore mine is here, the tripwire's here. It's a plastic spoon held by a clothespin, and then it's connected to a battery, which is here. So you disconnect the battery, the booby trap won't work because it's when you pull the tripwire, the clothespin's got metal here and here. That makes the connection, goes off. So they're shoulder to shoulder, you know, crawling down here, feeling with their hands for the battery. You know, so it's this little 3x5 battery you would put in your smoke alarm. And 3.5 battery, real tiny little thing. And so they're, you know, they're looking for this battery in the dark. Well, they missed the battery, they tripped the wire, and they're both killed. So they're not happy. You know, these two guys died for nothing at all. You know, just some guy.
Helicopters didn't even come.
Yeah. Just some guy had an idea. So they immediately, you know, brought in helicopters and flew these guys off to the middle of nowhere. because, they were afraid that, they're going to frag one of the officers, an intelligence officer, whoever it was, came up with this crazy idea that got 2 guys killed. And so, I don't, that's what I was told. I do know that they immediately set us off. So the line company's gone, recon was gone, and so the fire base was undefended. So, half of what you hear is true, half of what we hear is rumor, but it's certainly, it was true about those guys getting killed for no reason at all, just a bad decision. But whether, all the infantry were scattered to the winds because the officers feared they were going to be fragged, only the officers could know. I don't know, but that's what we were told. So that whole scene kind of next morning turned out into a disaster. So no one was happy about that.